Hi, welcome guys to another episode of Motivational Monday. I know it's early, but because of a time difference, I'm in Greece on location and it's a 7-hour time change. So I'm going to start now. It's 9:56 here. I know in New York it's 2:56. All right, Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for guiding us and protecting us throughout this week. Lord, you are awesome, worthy, merciful, and wonderful to be praised. We give you all praise, all honor, and glory. All right. So today's health topic, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Parkinson's disease. 10 early signs of Parkinson's disease. It can be hard to tell if you or your loved one has Parkinson's disease. Below are 10 signs that might have the disease. No signs, one of these signs mean that you should worry, but if you have more than one sign, you should consider making an appointment to speak to your doctor. Hi Marilyn, thank you. Hi Esbert. Have you noticed a slight shaking or tremor in your finger, thumb, hand, or chin? A tremor while at rest is common early signs of Parkinson's disease. What is normal? Shaking can be normal after lots of exercise. If you are stressed or if you have been injured, shaking could also be caused by the medication that you're taking. Small handwriting. Has your handwriting gotten much smaller than it was in the past? You may notice that way you write words on a page has changed, such as letters size are small and the words are crowded together. A change in handwriting may be a sign of Parkinson's disease called micrographica. What is normal? Sometimes writing can change as you get older. If you have stiff hands or fingers or poor vision. Loss of smell. Have you noticed you no longer smell certain food very well? If you seem to have more trouble smelling food like bananas, dill, pickles, or licorice, you should ask your doctor about Parkinson's. Your sense of smell can be changed by a cold, flu, or stuffy nose, but if you come back when you are better. Trouble sleeping. Do you toss around in the bed or act out dreams when you are deeply asleep? Sometimes your spouse will notice or will want to move to another bed. Sudden movement during sleep may be a sign of Parkinson's disease. What is normal? It is normal for everyone to have a night when they toss and turn instead of sleeping, similarity, quick jerks, or the body when initiating sleep or when in lighter sleep are common and often normal. Trouble moving or walking. Do you feel stiff in your body, arms, or leg? Have often others noticed that your arms don't swing like they usually when you walk? Sometimes stiffens goes way as you move. If it does not, it can be a sign of Parkinson's disease. An early sign might be stiffness or pain in your shoulder or hip. People sometimes say their feet seem stuck on the floor. What is normal? If you have injured your arm or shoulder, you may not be able to use it as well until it's healed. Or another illness like arthritis might cause the same symptoms. Constipation. Do you have trouble moving your bowels without straining every day? Straining to move your bowels can be an early sign of Parkinson's disease and you should talk to your doctor. What is normal? If you do not have enough water or fiber in your diet, it can cause problems in the bathroom. Also, medication, especially those for pain, will cause constipation. If there is no other reason such as a diet or medicine that will cause you to have trouble moving your bowels, you should speak with your doctor. A soft or low voice. How often people told you that your voice is very soft or that you sound hoarse? If there has been a change in your voice, you should see your doctor about whether it could be Parkinson's disease. Sometimes you might think of other people are losing their hearing when really you are speaking more softly. What is normal? A chest cold or a virus can cause your voice to sound different, but you should go back to sounding the same when it goes away. Mask face. Have you been told that you have a serious depressed or mind lock on your face even when you are not in a bad mood? This is often called facial masking. If so, you should ask your doctor about Parkinson's disease. What is normal? Some medicine can cause you to have the same type of serious or staring look, but you would go back to the way you were after you stop the medication. Dizziness or fainting. Do you notice that you often feel dizzy when you stand up out of a chair? Feeling dizzy or fainting can be a sign of low blood pressure and can be linked to Parkinson's disease. What is normal? Everyone has had a time when they stood up and felt dizzy. But if it happens on a regular basis, you should see your doctor. And the final one is stooping or hunching over. Are you not standing up as straight as you used to? If you or your family or friends notice that you seem to be stooping, leaning, or slouching when you stand, it could be a sign of Parkinson's disease. If you have pain from any injury, if you are sick, it might cause you to stand crookedly. Also, a problem with your bones can make you hunch over. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I'm reading this and letting you know, or if you know anyone, those are the 10 early signs of Parkinson's disease. And Parkinson's disease don't have to be in older people only. It could be anybody, right? But it tends to affect the older person. So those are the signs. Hope that helps someone out there and you can share it. Again, you can like and share my page. I'm on YouTube, Phyllis Worrell. You can go there and you can watch previous other motivational. Thank you again, guys. We are in the new month of November and we started in January and we're going strong. Thanks for all your encouragement. Thanks for all the texts and all the calls telling me that I'm doing a fantastic job and to keep it up. Thank you so much. You know, it takes courage coming up here and talking every week about topics that we all could be relate to and just motivating each other, right? So today I'm going to read a little from a book that my nephew got me. What Happened to You? It's a conversation on trauma, resilience, and healing from Dr. Bruce D. Perry and Oprah Winfrey. A note from the author. This book is for anyone with a mother, father, partner, or child who may have experienced trauma. And if you have ever been labeled like people pleaser, self-sabotager, disruptive, argumentative, cheated out, can't hold a job, or bad relationship used to describe you or your loved ones, this book is for you. Or if you simply want to better your understanding yourself and others, this book is for you. We know that reading experiences will make you think and make you feel. And at times, the feeling may be hard and painful. For some, the intense and sometimes disturbing content will be challenging for others. The concept about the brain may be unfamiliar and initially difficult to understand. We ask for your patience and trust with us and with ourselves. When you find reading too challenging, stop. Put the book down for an hour or a week. It will still be there when you feel able to return to it. And when you are ready to continue exploring why what happened to you shapes how you think, feel, and act. Welcome, just maybe discovered a path going forward. Now, last week, if you tune in, I talk about trauma to, the human being. And as I said before, trauma could be any life experiences that we went through when we were young. But I also spoke about some people carry it on to adulthood and, never seems to get past some of their traumas. But I would say seek help medically, and things like that. Stop crying, she would warn. You better hush your mouth. My face settled into static. My heart stopped racing, biting hard into my lower lip so no words would escape me. I'll do this because I love you, she repeated, her defense in my ear. As a young girl, I was whipped regularly. At the time, it was accepted practice for caregivers to use corporal punishment to describe a child. My grandmother, Hetty May, embraced it. But even at 3 years old, I knew that what I was experiencing was wrong. One of the worst beatings I recall happened on a Sunday morning going to church. Played a major role in our life. Just before we were to leave for the service, I was sent to the well behind the house to pump water. The farmhouse where I live with my grandmother did not have indoor plumbing. From the window, my grandmother caught a glimpse of me twirling my fingers in the water and became enraged. Though I was only daydreaming inaccurately as a child might, she was angry because this was our drinking water and I had to put my fingers in it. She then asked me if I have been playing in the water and I said no. She bent me over and whipped me so violently, my flesh wilted. Afterwards, I managed to put on my white Sunday best dress. Blood began to seep through and stain the crisp fabric a deep crimson. Livid at the sight, she chastised me for getting blood on my dress, then sent me to Sunday school in the rural South. This is how black children were raised. There wasn't anyone I knew wasn't whipped. I was beaten for the slightest reason. Spilled water, a broken glass, an inability to keep quiet or still. I hated a black comedian once said, the longest walk is to get your own switch. I not only had to walk to get the switch, but I even wasn't one available. I had to go find one, a thin one, young branch, worked best, but it was too thin. I would have to brand 2 or 3 together to make it strong. She often forced me to help her braid and switch. Sometimes the whooping would get saved up for Saturday night when I was naked and freshly bathed. Afterwards, when I could barely stand, she would tell me, "Wipe that pout off your face," and started smiling. Bury it as though it never happened. Eventually, I developed a keen sense of when trouble was brewing. I recognized the shift in my grandmother's voice or the look that meant I have displeased her. She was not a mean person. I believe she cared for me and wanted me to be a good girl. And I understood that hustling my mouth or silence was the only way to ensure a quick end to punishment and pain. For the next 40 years, that pattern of conditional compliance, the result of deeply rooted traumatic, would definitely every relationship, interaction, and decision in my life. The long-term impact of being whipped, then forced to hush and even smile about it, turned me into a world-class people pleaser for most of my life. It would not have taken me half a lifetime to learn to set boundaries and say no with confidence had I been nurtured differently. As an adult, I am grateful to enjoy long-term, consistent, loving relationship with many people. Yes, the early beatings emotionally fractured and splitted connection that I have experienced with the central figures in my early life, no doubt, helped me develop my solitary independence in the powerful words of the poem Invictus. I am the captain of my soul and master of my fate. Millions of people were treated just as I was as a child and grew up believing their lives were of no value. My conversation with Dr. Bruce Perry and the thousands of people who were brave enough to share their stories with me on the Oprah Winfrey Show have taught me that effects of my treatment by those who were supposed to care for me weren't strictly emotional. There was also a biological response. Through my work with Dr. Perry, my eyes have been opened to the fact that although I have experienced abuse and trauma as a child, my brain found ways to adapt. This is where hope lies for all of us, in a unique adaptability of our miraculous brains. Dr. Perry, in this book, Understanding How the Brain Reacts to Stress or Early Trauma, help clarify how what has happened to us in the past shapes who we are, how we behave, and why we do the things we do. Through this lens, we can build a renewed sense of personal self-worth and ultimately recalibrate our response to circumstances, situation, and relationship. It is the words that I keep to reshaping in our lives. Now, guys, this is a very, very deep story about trauma, about the way how we were shaped growing up, how our parents used to discipline us, or their way might have not been the best way, but in their eyes, they thought, well, that was the right way. But as you can hear from her testimony here, that was her journey. A lot of us, the way how we act and the way how we feel and the way how we explore with others have a lot to do with our childhood and upbringing. We, the treatment team of the sanctuary, were in the team meeting sometimes around 1991. Now, this doctor has been working with people, and they have developed, making sense of the world, talking about the brain, how the brain works. More than 130 million babies are born in the world every year. Each arrive into their own unique set of social, economic, and cultural circumstances. Some are welcomed with gratitude and joy, crawled in the arms of their parents and family. Others are more unlikely, like me, experience rejection from a young mother who dreamed of a different life. A couple crushed by the pressure of poverty on enraged father, perpetrating a cycle of abuse. Yet, whether or not they are loved, every current form newborn, that is you and me, shares one profound impact trait. Despite the misread circumstances into which we were born, we come into the world with an inner sense of wholeness. We don't begin our lives by asking, am I enough? Am I worthy? Am I deserving or lovable? Not one baby in the earliest moments of awareness asks, do I matter? Their world is a place of wonder. But with their very first breath, these are the things human beings begin trying to make sense of their surroundings. Who will nurture and care for them? What will bring comfort? And for so many little ones, life begins to take its toll with violent eruptions by the caregiver, or simply the lack or the soothing voice or the gentle touch in your first encounters. Our human experience diverge. The most previous feeling I remember from my own childhood is loneliness. My mother and father were together only once, underneath an old oak tree, not far from the house where my mother, Vilma, was raised in Mississippi. My father, Vernon, used to tell me I would never have been born if I hadn't been curious about what was underneath my mother's pink poodlet skirt. 9 months after that encounter, I arrived. From the moment I could make sense of it, I knew I was unwanted. My father didn't even know about me until my mother sent him a birth announcement and asked for the money to buy baby clothes. My grandmother, Hetty May, home was a place where children were seen and not heard. I have distinct memories of my grandmother shooting me away with his cane, yet no memory of him speaking directly to me. After my grandmother passed, I was shuttled between my mother, who had moved to Milwaukee, and my father in Nashville, because I didn't know either one. I struggled to develop strong roots and connection with my parents. My mother worked as a maid for $50 a week in Fox Point on the North Shore of Milwaukee, doing what she could to care for 3 young children. There was no time for nurturing. I was always trying not to be bother to her or to worry her. My mother felt distant, cold to the needs of this little girl. All of her energy went to keeping her head above water, surviving. I always feel like a burden, an extra mouth to feed. I rarely remember feeling love from an early age as I can remember. I knew I was on my own. What I have learned from talking to so many victims of traumatic events, abuse, or neglect is that after absorbing those painful experiences, the child began to ache, a deep longing to feel needed, validated, and value began to take a hold. As a child grow, they lack the ability to set a standard for what they deserve. And if that lack is not addressed, what often follow is complicated, frustrating patterns of self-sabotage, violence, promiscuity, and addiction. This is where the work begins. The work to evacuate the roots that were put down long before we had the words to agriculture, what was happening to us. Dr. Perry has opened my eyes to the way in which powerful, frightening, or isolating sensory experience that lasts mere seconds or endure for years can remain locked deep in the band. Yet, as our brains develop, constantly absorbing new experience while counting to make sense of what the world around us, every moment builds up all the moments that come before. I have always felt that the truth of staying, that the acorns conscious the oaks. And through my walk with Dr. Perry, I know this to be true. 2, if you want to understand the oak, it back to the action we must go. Early in our relationship, I remember Oprah saying, "You are the guy who sees everything through the lens of the brain. Do you think about the brain all the time?" The short answer is almost. I think about the brain a lot. I was trained as a neurological scientist and have been studying the brain and stress response system since I was in college. I was also a psychologist, a field, and after my training in the neural senses, I found that the brain is aware perspective help me when I am trying to understand people. Being a child psychiatrist, I have often asked about troubling behaviors. Why the child acting like a baby? Can he act his age? How could a mother stand by and watch her boyfriend beat her child? Why would someone ever abuse a child? What is wrong with that child, that mother, that boyfriend? Often over the years, I have found that seemingly senseless behaviors make sense once you look at what is behind it. And since the brain is the part of us that allows us to think, feel, and act, whatever I am trying to understand someone, I wonder about that person's brain. Why didn't they do that? What would make them act that way? Something happening that influenced how their brains work. The first time I was able to use the neuroscience lens to understand behaviors, I was a young therapist still training. I was working with an elderly man, a smart family kind man. Mike was a veteran of the Korean War and had seen lots of combat. He had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, which we talked about in a deeper way later. He suffered with anxiety, sleep difficulties, depression, and episode flashback in which he deliberately feel as if he was in the combat. He had to restore a self-meditating with alcohol and struggle with brain drinking. This, of course, contributed to the work and the family conflict, and ultimately he led to divorce and forced retirement. We had been working together for about a year, and Mike had been doing pretty well managing his drinking, but his other symptoms persisted. One day he called upset, "Doc, can I come in to see you today? It's important." And sadly, one to come, sadly, was a retired torch Mike had been dating. I've talked a lot in previous session about not wanting to blow this one. Sensing the urge, I argued. Later that afternoon, they came into my office and sat next to each other on the couch. They were holding hands, sadly, gently whispering in his ears. Mike looked shamed, and it was clear she was trying to reassure him. They looked like nervous teenagers. He started, "Can you explain PTSD to her? You know why I am all messed up?" He started to tear up. "What's wrong with me?" Right? Korea was over 30 years ago. Sadly, moved to him. I felt myself forwarding, and I could readily explain PTSD, so I stalled. "If I may ask, why, Mike, did something happen?" "We were going out last night, had a nice dinner, and were walking on the way to the movies, and suddenly I was in the streets between parked cars." Now again, sometimes the things that we go through, people don't understand. PTSD is very, very important, especially to plenty veterans. They go through post-traumatic stress disorder, and a lot of family members don't understand that either. And it's not easy, and people sometimes can't understand, but you know, that's why I believe in talking to a therapist, and I always believe when you know better, you do better, and what you want for yourself, do unto others. And you, if you don't want to accept that type of behavior from someone, what they're giving you, you don't have to accept it. You have to set boundaries, you know, and make sure that, you know, I mean, everybody have their own walks in life, but again, you know, people doesn't ask you, you know, what happened to you that have you like that. And sometimes some people just don't know how to explain it. Some people can't communicate with others. Some people need a forum where they could sit down with someone professionally and do that. So sometimes you see a lot of people go through different things, and we are not here again to judge anyone, you know. And here it is, you're hearing about a person who is this, you know, suffering from that. And you know, he talks here a model of the brain, the cortex, creative thinking, language, values, time, hope, the limbic, reward, memory, bonding, emotion. Right? Decepticon, arousal, sleep, appetite, motivation. And brainstream, temperature, reception, conscience. So here again, they're talking about how the brain works. And as a young person coming up, when you're born, and with the parents, the way how your parents treat you, grandparents, your father, brothers, sisters, this is who you're going to be when you grow older. And sometimes I tell people, many times I tell them, I never saw my father kiss my mother. I never saw that affection. Now, my father, I know he had loved my mother, but I never see it. And I tell myself as a young person growing up, when I have a child, I want to show my child affection. Hug him, kiss him, mommy, mommy loves you, and things. If you don't tell your children these kind of things, they wouldn't have it in them. They wouldn't have it in them to share to others, right? And again, growing up have a really lot to do with your life. And again, some people need to seek professional help. I'm not a doctor. I'm just talking from this book, and I'm talking from my personal experiences, right? Whatever you want, accept it. Whatever you don't want, you set boundaries, and you don't have to take nothing that you don't want to in your life. That's what I learned. You understand? And what if something not good for me, I am not going to be around that person or those type of people. If the toxic, I want no part of that. My mother always tell me, if a person loves you, he wouldn't want the ants to bite you. So if you're in a relationship or with somebody that is not giving you what you want or what you're supposed to accept, then you just move on. There is more fishes in the sea, right? But you don't have to stay in a situation and, from being toxic to toxic. That is not going to work. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help you. Keep hurting yourself, hurting your heart, stress, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, and you name it. So, again, the brain have a lot to do with how we think, how we feel, and the things that we will accept and the things that we wouldn't accept. So my advice to you today is, look inside yourself, look inside of the mirror, and make sure that whatever you want, you're getting. Whatever you feel, that feeling is there. You understand? And if not, look to Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the light. He's the only one to give you unconditional love. No man or woman could give you unconditional love. Jesus could give you that. So you need to start reading your Bible, your Quran, whatever you believe in, and make sure that, you develop those things for yourself and make yourself stronger, because a lot of people are weak. Hey, Bets, weak out there, and they need help. Some people need help. But I just always say, a person that need help have to want help from themselves first. You might be willing to give a hand, and they're not stretching out their hand to meet you halfway. So then, to me, that person don't need help, right? So you have to want good in your life. You have to want to do better. And again, I would say, when you know better, you do better, and your behavior to others will be better, right? So, making sense of the world, making sense of different things, you can do it. Don't ever, and I tell you over and over, don't ever let anyone say you can't do anything. The sky's the limit. Look at me today. I'm in Athens, Greece, bringing my motivational to you. I am here, right, June? And, just spreading the love, and you can do whatever you want to do. Don't ever feel that, you're out there alone. We all go through things in our life in stages, and we will be fine. We will be fine once we connect with the right set of people around us, and we will be fine. And again, love your children, teach them love, show them love, because they are tomorrow's. They're there to carry on your mantle and your legacy, as I always say. But everybody struggle, and Oprah is a woman. I know people have their own, misconceptions and stuff about everybody, but this is a testimony here that she grew up traumatic from being whooped just for, swaying in the yard, just for, she couldn't even smile because her grandmother instilled, is like, all these old saying that people have. And, they grew you up in this kind of way that some people just can't communicate to others. But just know that there is hope out there. And if you today feel alone or depressed, there's a lot of self-help book out there to help you. You know, other people, same thing like Yanda Vanza, and these people who is motivational speakers, they went through a bad and rough time. I mean, another one, my nephew love is, I think her name is Nicole. They went through rough times. So they live it already. So they could come out here and talk to people and motivate them and help them be strong. You know, as again, I'm not a doctor, but from my experiences, I could say, you know, sometimes when we young and we go through things in our life, and when we reach to see the age, let me say as 50, you know, we done pass that hurdle. A lot of things that we did in our youth, we're not going to go through this now when we old age, at least not me, you know. So I could speak every time I come here and I talk to you all. I am speaking from my own experience, right? I grew up in a family, a loving family, and again, it was 14 of us, brothers and sisters, and our parents always tell us we have to look out for one another, we have to play with one another. We were not allowed to play with or go to other people's houses and interact. My mother always say, you have your brothers and sisters, you have enough of y'all. So sometimes people might find we warriors, we close because our parents grew us up like that, you know, and we all are close-knit. We may have our differences like any other family, but we do not talk to people. We do not talk to everyone. We take a distance, but anything happen, we there for one another, right? But again, some people didn't grow that. Like I'm a single parent. I grew up with my son, you know, alone. But thank God I had an extended family who was there to help me bring him up to the person that he is today. And that's why I just always say, if you have a grandmother, like I think I lack the love of a grandmother. I had a grandmother, but she was living far. So it's not like if I had my grandmother to make me this nice porridge or make me a nice meal that I could remember. All I remember is holiday time going to my grandmother, and she would cook. I remember maniku, and she would boil provision. But, you know, little memories I have of her. But I never have the love close-knit like how people would say, okay, my grandmother this, my grandmother that. We didn't have that. We only saw our grandmother on holidays. And then my dad, mom, well, you know, my father was Bajan, so she was never around. We never knew her. I think she passed away. So we don't know that side of the family. And my mother, she only had 2 children, which is my aunt. That's all we have, you know. So again, my family is huge. And when I come here and I talk and I motivate others, it's from my own experiences. And just spreading the love out there. Love, just love, you know. Don't wait for nobody to give it to you. Love you. What you want to do, you could do. And the struggle is not for the swift, it's for those that can enjoy to the end. Right? And just be strong. Just be strong. And always have your head up high. And don't ever let nobody talk down to you. You see, like me, nobody can talk down to me. Nobody can make me feel no kind of way, because I know who I am and I know the God that I serve, you know. And when people do your bad and wicked things, forgive them. I ain't telling you forget, but you know, you forgive them and you move on, because you don't want to have that in your heart and how you upset. Nobody could steal my joy. Nobody could steal it, right? So, you know, sometimes in life, as I just tell people come in your life for a time, a lifetime, and a reason. They ain't come to stick forever. So when people hurt us, that all those is learning experiences to let us know going forward how we will move. And, you know, you stand up, you watch. That's me. You understand what I'm saying? So I hope that you get something from this motivational today. Again, as I say, this is November month and we started in January, and I have my day one people always here with me. Again, sorry for coming on early, but guys, you know the time over here. It is 10:40 in the night. I was trying to stay up as late as I can to just bring this motivational to you. Next Monday, God's willing, I will be in Istanbul, so I'll come again and just spreading love, spreading joy. If anyone looking for a job, I know Delta Airlines team up with Rock Nation on the 18th of November at Madison Square Garden. They will have a big job fair and they will have different companies there hiring. If you know anyone out there who wants a job, go out to Madison Square Garden. I think it's from 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock. Go out there, and if you need a job, you have the right credential, you'll get hired. There's a lot of companies out there hiring right now, especially if you're qualified. Even if you're not qualified, a lot of people have jobs out there. So don't say you ain't getting no work. People who don't have a work don't want to work because everybody hiring, right? Because a lot of older people took packages in the airline industry. Plus, a lot of people, again, go out. Coronavirus is real. Wear your mask, guys. You know, go get vaccinated. Everywhere needed. Our company, we had to do it. Our company is a federal contractor. We had to get vaccinated. You know, those that don't want to, there is coming a time that you would. So think about it, you know, and make sure and go out there. And they have all the vaccination there. Do your research just like I did mine. And, you know, everywhere you're traveling, let me tell you now, we're traveling to come to Greece, you need your PCR. Then you have to go on and get a QR code. Then you have to make sure that you have all your credentials for when you land here. So when you're checking in at the check-in counter, they check you. At the gate, they don't check you. But when you land here, sometimes the immigration officer would ask you for your PCR test for the QR code. The QR code just gives you information from your passport. And they want that vaccination card uploaded in the system. If you don't have the vaccination card, most likely I think it might be a quarantine thing. But now every country so far that I have been to asking for these things if you're traveling international. And I know, I think from November the 1st, any person entering the United States must be fully vaccinated per Joe Biden. So read up about what you want to do, the things where you want to go, and that's the life now, and that's our life, plain and simple, you know. Nobody's forcing you, putting a gun to your head to tell you you have to be vaccinated. But just think about your children, think about your grandparents, think about your, people around you, your co-workers, and go out there and get vaccinated. It's just a shot. All right? What again? That's it. It was beautiful here with you guys. Have a blessed and safe week. Again, sorry to be so early, but I am here in Athens, Greece, and trying to wake up to not going too early because it's a 7-hour time difference. So love in the house. Peace be unto you. Stay safe. God is good. Walk in love. All right? See you guys next week, God willing.